Soldiers and police are being accused of assaulting people in Zimbabwe. They say categorically, the soldiers and police, it's not them, and that rogue element stole their uniforms and impersonated them. Zimbabwe Independent Editor-in-Chief Dumisani Moleya joins me on the line from Bulawayo to discuss this. It's very good to have you with us, Mr. Moleya. What is happening? Are the police and soldiers behind this action?
It's very clear and beyond a reasonable doubt because of the overwhelming evidence that is there on the ground that this is a state action, this is organized, state-sponsored violence perpetrated by the security forces in the form of the military and the police, people who have been beaten up, who have been injured, and those who have even been seized or abducted. It's quite clear who was involved. It's the police and the army. Their explanation that it's rogue elements who have either deserted from the army or who are off duty, who have taken uniforms and arms in order to perpetrate some criminality, acts of criminality and brutality. It doesn't hold at all. It's a standard excuse for this regime, the ZANU-PF regime.
And I should imagine, considering the fear that people have for the police and the military there, that they'd be incredibly brave to not only steal their uniforms, but to steal their cars and their ammunition and guns.
Yes, it's really a ridiculous excuse and really an insult to the people who have suffered the brutality from the state action, the military and the police, because people know on the ground who was beating up the people. So when they come up with these excuses, I mean, they just become a laughing stock, except that this is a very serious and a tragic situation. There's nothing fun about it. They have done it before, all the time. Just look at the Kgalema Motlanthe Commission. Their excuse before the commission was that there were some snipers standing on top of buildings who shot people on August 1 last year. Same excuse now. Same excuse even during Gukraundi when thousands and thousands of people were killed in the Matabeleland regions. They had to blame some rogue elements. It's a standard excuse for this regime. They have accepted responsibility.
Why is this violence happening? If it is state-orchestrated violence, what's the end game here? What's the message? And who are their targets?
Quite clearly, they are trying to use the same old tried and tested methods of repression. They are targeting the opposition forces. They are targeting civil society. They are targeting unemployed, angry youths who are the ones who are pushing the protests that unfortunately turned violent in some cases, and there was looting and destruction of property. Even then, there is absolutely no justification for the state to respond through acts of terror, through acts of violence and repression. They just have to use law and order instruments, arrest those who perpetrated violence, and take them through the courts of law. They have no justification at all to be attacking, beating up and killing people in the name of trying to enforce law and order.
And of course, I guess it's convenient that this is happening while the president is still out of the country. I mean, he's not going to Davos, but, you know, his country's going up in flames, and he's still not there.
Yes, apparently he should be arriving this evening. But the fact of the matter is that when the mayhem was happening, all this chaos, he was not there. He triggered the chaos and left by announcing the 150% fuel price increases. And then he left his deputy to deal with this. And when you leave a deputy who is coming from, who has a military background, to deal with situations of that nature, naturally his default mode is a law and order in the form of security forces, and this is what happens. Not that if the president was there, it would be any different at all. They come from the same background, and you will always realize that their most trusted tools in such kind of situations is to use violence, repression. It's a ZANU-PF culture. It's a part of their culture. These people are the ones who are the enforcers of Mugabe's repressive rule. They are still there. They are continuing with that.
And briefly, if you will, I mean, the courts have stepped in and said that this blocking of the internet, of social media, is not allowed to carry on. What has been the impact of that? What do you think has been going on and the justification for that?
Yeah, their justification for switching off the internet, basically blocking the internet, was that it was being used by the protesters to mobilize protest and attendant acts of violence. A very ridiculous justification if weighed against the economic impact of the closure of the internet. If there is any devastating impact or effect that this strike has had on the economy, it is actually the closure of the internet part of it, because 80% of the transactions in Zimbabwe, they are done electronically. So it means when you shut down the internet, it's not just an assault on democracy, human rights, it's a massive, major assault on the economy. Okay. They've done more harm to the economy in a short week than the protesters looting and destruction.
Dumisani, Moleya, thank you.